For these special people. I'm equally super excited. I think, Jumoke, your name seems to be missing in this slide, for the women who change the world, as well as for you. I'm sure the list continues, but if you come to look at it, people are usually like the tech world is the man's world and the man's space. And if you really come down, you would see that the first programmer is actually a woman, and that tells a lot. So women are here to change the world, and just like that Beyonce song, "Who Runs the World," I agree, is just totally women. So get ready to be inspired as we, move on to have some fun in this session.
Yes, you're right. I'm Tosin, and you know what? Never mind. I know our names are still going to be here very soon. That one I can assure you. So just like what Tosin said, just like what Tosin said, who really runs the world? Yes, we know it is the women. And then we don't want to go into this show by not letting you meet us, really. And then so we're going to be doing a quick introduction about ourselves. Like I said, my name is Olajumoke. I'm the CTO for Ashem, also a co-founder of Textile. I'm a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional for the Office and Apps Services category. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. A little bit about me. A lot of times people ask, you have a lot of names. People will call you Ola, people will call you Jimmy, Jumoke, and then MJ. Yes, it's not Michael Jackson, so don't get it wrong. MJ is not Michael Jackson. That means I don't. The truth about it is that I don't know how to dance, but I can cook very well. So if IT at all decides not to function again, I mean, you will find me making a lot of delicacies, really. So, I mean, that's by the side. So you can call me Jimmy, you can call me MJ, you can whatever name you're comfortable with. And I like the truth about it is that I am very passionate about seeing more women in the community, and that's the reason for me even joining Textile in the first place. So a little, you can go into my LinkedIn, you can go to my social media. Unfortunately, Twitter is still banned in Nigeria. I don't even know when last I've used it, so I cannot tell you about Twitter, about my Twitter page and all of that. But a little bit about me. If you're comfortable, call me MJ, whatever you're comfortable with. But just, this is my humble self. Over to you, Tosin.
All right, thank you very much, MJ. Unfortunately, MJ cannot dance, but I'm equally a very good dancer. So probably I should have a way to add MJ to my name so that I can have that title. All right, my name is Oluwatosin Anishere, and you can call me Tosin for short. That way it's easier because I believe we do not have just Nigerians here on the call. I'm an accomplished Microsoft certified trainer, a cloud consultant for Rugby Business Solution. I expertise in Microsoft Azure as well as Microsoft 365. And also over the years, I've onboarded thousands of engineers globally, that's as well as trained IT professionals globally, for Microsoft products. And here I am today. I cannot compete with MJ, so I just have to just keep it short that way and let this particular session fly. So MJ, I'm humble. Let me tell you a story about MJ quickly. How I met MJ. The first time I met MJ, I told myself, oh my God, I just want to be like this woman. Like I was, if she was a man, I would have said I was love struck. But obviously, she is a woman, and I met her. I saw her there in the panel, and I was like, wow, I want to be like this woman. And I would say today I am honored, to co-host with her for this very October inspirational session. So thank you, MJ. And it's really a great privilege co-hosting with you.
Sincerely, I am flattered. I'm flattered because I'm talking to a very brilliant person. I mean, she's the coolest, the smartest person I've ever come across. So I'm actually very flattered meeting her. And then to give me all of those accolades, man, Tosin, thank you so much for that. All right, so without much ado, I think let's set the tone of the conversation for today. Our agenda for today, we're going to start with talking about ourselves, about Textala, what our vision is, and who we are and what we stand for. Then we'll take it up from a discussion with Ola Williams, who is also the Microsoft country manager for both Nigeria and Ghana. Ola is going to be discussing the topic on women in IT and leadership role. What our topic we'll be looking at is how we build an enabling ecosystem for women in IT to grow their leadership skills. Then from there, we'll take it up with a soft skill with Sheryl lately. Sheryl is going to be taking us on how to influence your ideas with the right communication skills. So Sheryl, please, pardon me in case I do not pronounce your Lately very well, but I'm sure that I'm trying my best. And you know what?
I'll
This
forgive you
particular
anything. I'll forgive you anything, MJ. Okay, it's absolutely fine.
All right. And you know one thing about this lady, I mean, she's one, I used to call her my inspiration, my motivation, as I used to call her. She's a motivational person and an inspiration to me. And then so I'll go into when I want to speak about Ola, and then how she's also a very special person to me. So, but for Leslie, because Tosin will be the one doing the introduction, but this woman is actually someone that I really, really, really admire, which is Sheryl. So then we'll wrap it up with a question and answer. And please, if you do have your answer and questions, please spell it down. We'll look at that shortly. So about us, Textala was founded on May 30th, 2020. Textala is actually a community focused on supporting women who desire growth in technology. We tend to see ourselves not for pride, but we tend to see ourselves as people with very important superpower. I'm not talking about those people that fly on stick. We are just we have superpower. The superpower we have really is for us. So I'm not talking about those, those other ones. No, please. But what we're talking about is the power we think we have, and we're sure we have really, not that we think, is the ability to use technology skills to solve real life problems. So our vision is actually to bring more women into technology by empowering them with skills through training and technology mentorship. And that's what we've been doing so far. So that's a little bit about us.
Okay, thank you very much, Jumoke, for that. Come to think of it, I think all women, have superpowers. Imagine how much they juggle multiple roles and they still stand strong. I believe that it's just, there should be a super for every lady. Okay, so our meetup days is usually every Saturdays, and currently we are running our second cohort, which is ongoing. We have the Textilers deep dive where we go into the various Microsoft cloud technologies, and we train aspiring women in tech. Now, the interesting part is we also have, our male counterparts interested in what we are doing, and that's why I said we have superpowers. Join us as well for some of our session. So every last Saturday of the month, we have the Textilers Inspirational session, which we're currently running one as we speak. So we are equally live right now. And also, please do follow us on our social media, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Twitter, WhatsApp, as well as YouTube. I'll go ahead to drop all of this link in the chat window such that you can all have this link and join us accordingly. So we are going to be dishing out so many interesting things in our social media, so it would be nice for you to go ahead and click that subscribe button.
Thank you. You see why I said that it's always good to have like a very brilliant and smart person with you. I mean, thank you for that, Tosin. And then moving on, meet our October inspirational textilers. Yes, we call them our textilers. Today, the only person we've not christened as a textiler is Ola Williams, but I'm sure on this call right now, I think we've christened her as a textiler. So meet our October inspirational textiler. So for Ola Williams, is the country manager for Microsoft, and then like I said, she's the very first female for country manager for Microsoft. Now, interestingly, I'll say something interestingly. One of the things that I started, it's not just now that I will just take you a little bit on a journey with me and Ola. I could remember in those days, I'm talking about in 2008. I mean, year 2008, she'll be doing one deployment on Lagos Island, on Marina Street. She's in the First Bank. I'm in Wema Bank. And then I'll put the call through to her. Hola, my exchange is not working. And then she will send me some links. She will send, we start exchanging articles. So she's actually someone that I really, really, really respect in the industry, a woman of caliber, a tough woman in IT, really. And then her career growth has been one that has been very, very amazing. She started as a voice technologist in Microsoft, and then she climbed all through the ladder till she got to this. Ola is a business leader with over 21 years experience in information technology. She's an award-winning leader, and like I said, she's currently the country manager for Nigeria and Ghana. I don't want to bore you so much with that, but I guess that by the time we ask her to introduce herself, she'll be giving us more on that. So that's a little bit about Ola. I'm sure by the time she come on the show, we'll hear more from her.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to hear more directly from Ola, so that I can be like her too. And Jumoke, you would not be angry with me, in case you see me next week Ola Williams tomorrow. So, all right. So yes, we have here Sherry Netley, and Sherry equally has over 20 years career working for technology services that provide within the public, private, and equally the non-profit sector as well. Now, she understands when it comes to challenges. We all know technology has to do with solving problems, and she has that understanding of the challenges and the opportunity faced with our organization, and that way she provides help to implement innovative, customer-focused, as well as quality assured service management solution and maximize the extent of capability. So right now, Shelley is super. She has practiced active listening, as well as she's a natural problem solver. She when it comes to being empathetic and all, she has it. She's active on the Microsoft platform, as well as Dynamics 365 community. And if there's any watchword that is known for Shirley, is the fact that she's a firm believer of never too late. I would encourage us to, read more of her biography because you would understand where, she coined that from, that it's never too late, to start anything whatsoever. I won't be giving us detail, but I can just brief you because Sheryl is that one person who equally realized focusing on the part, sometimes soon, despite the fact that she has been in the industry for over 20 years, 25 if I am not mistaken. And also she is also the believer of We Rise by lifting others. I follow that suit as well. So welcome, Sherry. She'll be telling us more. She'll be speaking to us more on active listening as we move on in this event for today.
Thank you. And so moving on to our housekeeping rules, I'm sure every one of us for us to be able to have a very seamless session. One of the first things I want us to bear in mind is that this session will be recorded and will be made available for future viewing. Please mute your microphone when you're not talking, really. You can pen down your questions until the Q&A session, and then follow us on the on our social media, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then for us, try to keep up to date with all of the things that we'll be sharing with you. So without wasting much of your time, I just want us to quickly look at this video before we commence having Ola, who is going to be our first speaker for today. All right. Thank you so much. And then, I mean, you will learn from that video clips that there's something I took away from that video clips. And Tosin, I don't know whether that resonates with you also. If you want to be equal with men, you have to take
You have to take
risks.
risk.
Okay, so I mean, to set the tone for this conversation, and then to help us to know how we can build an enabling ecosystem for women in the IT industry to groom their leadership skills. Like I said, Ola Williams is a force to reckon with. Our progression, our career, I mean, our progression with her career path has been something that is really, really commendable, inspiring, and then motivating. So I just want to bring her to the show, and then so she will be. We were going to have like a discussion, really, an interview discussion. So whatever questions you have, also please get ready to ask her, and then we'll just be throwing some questions to her, and then she'll be telling us on how also we can groom our career and then stay as a leader also in the tech industry. So the very first question I have for Ola today, I'm going to make it so the very first question I have for you, Ola, today is for you to tell us about yourself, your career, and your journey to becoming the very first female country manager for Microsoft Nigeria and Ghana. So, Ola, welcome to the show. Thank you. I think you're muted.
Yes. Thank you, Jumoke and Tosin, for fantastic, facilitation of this program. And I want to appreciate you for inviting me to speak today. As you all might have realized, for those of you that know me, I'm very passionate about supporting women in IT because it's very important that we have the input of women to enrich the IT ecosystem because we have a lot to offer. So going to the question about myself, my career, my journey to become the first female country manager for Nigeria and Ghana. I will say that about myself, as Jumoke rightly said, I've been in IT career for all my entire career. The 21 years of my career has been in IT. I studied computer science from the Federal Polytechnic of Far, and I have been in IT field ever since graduation, and that has actually been my path. But I didn't start off immediately in core IT. I started from support, supporting network infrastructure. That was when internet service providers, was the in thing in the country. Then I moved on to, develop myself to understand what infrastructure is. Then I was taking certifications on Microsoft, Active Directory. I did a couple of Cisco certification. I also learned some things about hardware, also doing HP certification at that time. And from there on, I moved on to, being a consultant in one of the partner ecosystem then to develop most of the IT infrastructure in major banks across Nigeria, Ghana, and in some cases, I've even done projects in South America, out of the country. But of course, because of my love for technology, I kept on learning. I kept on developing myself. I kept on also challenging myself, to move outside of my comfort zone. And that was what led me into, learning about enterprise voice then, because Jumoke did reference it, that was what my first role in Microsoft. And at that time, enterprise voice was really new, pretty new, because it was a convergence of the traditional PBX system and leveraging, soft SIP technology to provide soft phones on top of people's devices, whether they're mobile device or their laptop, so they're able to make calls. And that was what actually brought me to Microsoft, because it's also at that point where Microsoft was pushing the technology into the market. So I started off as an individual contributor, looking after enterprise voice business as a technical sales resource, precisely looking after the whole of West Central and Eastern Africa. We call it WECA at that time. And in that process, I moved on to another role called Account Technology Strategist in Microsoft. And that led me to really work firsthand with customers across the breadth of Microsoft solution, not only looking at one particular solution. You can imagine working just on one, being a specialist and having to learn all the breadth of Microsoft solutions. So it's also about moving outside of my comfort zone, trying to learn new things. And it was at that time where Microsoft was transitioning to a cloud-first organization. So yeah, with my background in infrastructure, on-premise solution, I had to learn new things, learn cloud technology, learn new solution, how to pitch it to customer, how to help customers to understand how to leverage the cloud technology. And that was what transitioned me into another solution area called business application, where I also led that business. Fast forward into other areas, I had the opportunity to take on a people leadership role after that engagement to move. And it's not just something that you just transition into. I had to do a lot of work prior to that, even though I wasn't leading people, but I was taking on initiative within the organization, leading communities within Microsoft, leading my peers and helping them to also leverage my knowledge. So that had already positioned me to take on people leadership role. So when I was interviewing for a people leader role, I already have a lot of experience working with those communities. So that's why for us as women, we also need to take on initiative. And I appreciate this kind of forum where everyone is actually working together to develop their leadership capability. Then I moved on into another role, called leading our partner ecosystem. So that also helped me to build skills on managing partners, managing channels. So all these experiences and the different roles that I have actually had prepared me for this journey. So that's my journey, career journey, in a nutshell. There's still a lot to be spoken about, but I know we have limited time. But what I want us to take away from this journey is the fact that IT is an environment where you need to keep on learning. You need to have a growth mindset. You need to challenge yourself to move out of your comfort zone. You don't need to wait for opportunities to come to you. You need to prepare yourself for opportunities because things move at a very fast pace. So when people realize that you're already operating at a level, it's very easy for you to step into that level because you're already operating into it, even though you are not given authority to operate at that level, but you take it upon yourself to build yourself to be ready for the opportunity.
Amazing. And then amazing. Wow. Tosin.
Wow.
Yeah. You see what I like about what Ola said? I see the progression with success, really. And then, I mean, I look at the dedication, the commitment, the hard work, and that's, I guess, accelerated, I mean, the career success that she's enjoying today and all of that. So, I mean, this is really, 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 really admiring and then inspiring. I like all that you've said and the message you're trying to give to us. So moving on, I think I'm just have something to say.
Yes, I do. Again, I would say wow, and I'm sure the audience equally have something to say. I'm sure they're also in here of these accolades. I'll call them accolades. But one thing I'll just say to everyone on this call is never despise humble beginnings. I could see an humble beginning from what Allah has told us, and today she's the first. So I'm challenging everyone. What would you be the first to do? Allah is the first country manager, Nigeria, Ghana. So what would you be the first? Okay, there's a question that actually came to mind is actually about the ecosystem. Now, when it comes to an enabling ecosystem, it's actually that particular ecosystem where people as well as organization can voice their needs, and they can also not just their needs, including expectations, ideas, while they're trying to gather together and implement this joint action. So the question here is, what factor will be the most essential to building that enabling ecosystem, specifically for women in IT? We all know the IT space is a competitive space, and that competitive spirit from the subject themselves as a stakeholders mindset change. So that's what something I would like to hear from you, Ma.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is a very important question. The way I'll respond to it is everyone have to contribute to this. We as women, we have a part to play, and the stakeholders also have a part to play. And it's important that starting from the stakeholders, they have that mindset that women have a lot to contribute to IT. And if I look at example of Nigeria, the population of Nigeria, women constitute close to 50%. But if you look at the IT ecosystem, we have less than 20% women participating in this sector. So this means we are missing opportunity for women to really help us to accelerate the IT field, digital transformation of Nigeria, because these all women have capabilities. And if you look at organizations that actually promote diversity, their productivity and profitability increases significantly. So when stakeholders look at these factors, that it's important to have women in IT, then once that mindset change, it actually defines how they build policies and create enabling environment for women to actually come into IT. Then on the part of women, we also need to see IT as a home. It's a comfortable place to be, because if you look at today, every areas of our life is impacted by with technology. There's no running away from technology in any way. So we need to really challenge ourselves and say, this is an area that I want to be. I'll give an example of, Microsoft, where we have leadership team really promoting gender diversity as part of the entire diversity of, program within the organization. We made it possible for women to be mentored, to take on leadership role and build them to develop the skills and capabilities required for that. But of course, people need to also step up to take on such opportunities. Then when we come into, organization having policies to say we want to hire 50% women, we also need to have that pool of talent of women that can be hired into such organization. So this is why I really celebrate this kind of platform that is providing women that opportunity to build their capabilities to be relevant in the digital economy and be relevant in the marketplace. But of course, women also need to sit up to say, this is something that I can do. And for most of the time, because the fundamentals are not right, we don't see a lot of women in STEM right now, though a lot of organizations are also trying to generate those interests at the very early stage, going into school, encouraging girls and women to take on STEM careers. But the fact that you don't have STEM background doesn't mean you don't have a place in IT. The IT field is so vast, you can actually find your place within IT based on your interest. So the answer to this is every hands must be on deck. Our stakeholders need a change of mindset, build programs and policies that enables women to come to the table and really measure the impact of those policies and really continue to improve on it. And women also need to be interested and, need to be encouraged to develop that interest and also take on that, courage to come out and say, yes, this is something I want to do and be committed to it.
Very true. Very well said. Thank you so much, Ola, for that. Someone said, I think Lucia Falkenberg from Echo said that promoting women in tech should not be about fixing women. It means fixing the structure in a way that would benefit everyone. And then with all that you've said, this really align with what I read some time ago. So I look at what again, the emphasis on the commitment, and then on the fact that you should not allow what you learned in school, even though it is not IT related, to limit you. The technology space is quite wide for everyone to play in. So I think that from you. So moving on, my question is that there's a perception that IT jobs are very demanding and the task can be sometimes overwhelming. In some cases, this is actually very true. So the question is, how can female professionals who are looking to take up leadership role effectively manage the work demands and other things beyond work life?
Yeah, I think this is where the rubber meets the road, right? So a lot of issues around women because of our traditional role at home, which is very important, and the demand of the job, especially IT field. But there are a lot of a couple of things to bring to mind here. Every job is demanding, right? But with varying degree. So once we all have aligned on that, then we can go into the conversation. That also speaks to the previous question around stakeholders providing enabling environment. The requirement for women to work and be successful is not the same for men because of our peculiarity. So when we have organization or stakeholders, leaders that understand this, then they are providing that flexibility to encourage diversity within the organization. Then it makes it easier for us to build more leaders in IT space and more women, to take on leadership role in IT. And permit me again, I'm going to use my organization's, example. Things as little as providing space for women to take on, vacation, caregiver vacation when they need to have that. But trusting them that they will continue, when they come back, they also have that structure to come into the workplace and continue to on their career, right? And we as women should also not be afraid that we will not have the right support to help us in this journey. Once we have the right support structure, and it doesn't have to be perfect, right? But it also demands that courage from our part to demand for it. I can do this and I'll be successful at it. All I need is A, B, C, D. And when the organization sees that we're really adding value, they're more than happy to provide that, unless maybe an organization that you really doesn't have, look at your value as a value, then you have no place being in that organization. Go to where you're valued. But once the organization value you, they need to provide that enabling environment. They need to provide that, platform for you to really grow. We have a mentoring program within Microsoft that looks at specifically building women to take on leadership role. Look at your development plan. Where are you in your career? Where do you want to be in the next couple of years? And what are the skills and capabilities that you need to build to get to that point? Then you are diligent in following through on, taking the trainings, going for mentoring, taking on, responsibilities in some cases, it could be additional responsibility to help you to build those capabilities. But most importantly, that support structure needs to be there. It's not something that one would just evolve into. Otherwise, it will be, so much of a struggle and leads to frustration. But the one of the key takeaways I want people to take here is don't wait till you are asked.
Mhm.
You need to step up. You need to raise up your hands. For a man, for example, if they ask a man, can you do this job? He might not have all the skills and the capabilities for that job. You said, let me have it. I'll try it and I will learn along the way. But for women, we want everything to be perfect because we don't want to be seen as I didn't get it right. It's not every man that get it right all the time. We learn from mistakes. It helps us to grow. It helps us to build resilience. It helps us to build, capabilities. So you don't need to wait till you have everything perfect. Just know where you want to be, create a path for it, get all the necessary support as you go along, and continue to forge ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ola, for that. I quite agree with you. Tosin, I think you have the
Oh,
next question. Yeah.
yes. I'm still going to go back to the STEM workforce. It's clear that we women are actually the minority in the STEM workforce. Now, on the call, I believe we have, when we say textilers for aspiring women, we equally have those that are still in school on the call. And for that STEM, it's just as simple as just considering the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That's just an acronym in a way. But what I'm trying to say in essence is women basically we just make up, I think from 2020 statistic, if I'm not mistaken, we're about 28 to 45% in the tech giant industry. When I mean tech giant, I'm referring to the likes of Google, Apple, Facebook. Okay, Facebook is Meta now, so I'll call them Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. Collectively, we're just
Mm.
within 28 to 42. That's not, strong enough. So because we understand that also we understand that in the industry there's this, alarming retention gap just to keep women in tech. So my question for you, please, is what factor do you think is contributed to all of this, and how do you think we can overcome these challenges as a woman?
Thank you. Very, very good question. I think we need to change mindset across board,
Mm.
right from home, and I usually say that a lot. Unknowingly, we design women to prefer certain roles or industry, and men prefer certain industry. And IT is one of the, or STEM is one of the areas where women are not traditionally encouraged, not deliberately in most of the time. It's just by, sheer cultural and, the nuances within the organization. So we need to look at, parents also need to be educated that women need to be encouraged to, right from home, to take on STEM roles, engineering, mathematics, because once as a woman, I understand that these are the kind of, I can go into fashion, which is great, or I'm going into, nursing, or I'm going into what are the traditional things that women do, then why do I need to go to STEM? I just need to pick on other courses. That's one. I think the other part of it is also being deliberate to coach young girls right from early in secondary school, from primary school, on the potential that they have to add to STEM. Because once you know you have something to add to an industry, then it's a motivation that, oh, actually I can add to this. It's not only men that can add, that can contribute to STEM. We as women, we have a lot. I think, Tosin, you're the one that mentioned it, that the first programmer was a woman. A lot of people don't know that story. Most people, once you hear programmer, what they write is he. I receive a lot of emails and people say Mr. Ola because my name is unisex. So it's just in people's mindsets that you just have to be a man. And this kind of forum, we all of us here, we need to educate people around us, educate them. We need to encourage more women. A lot of women are being successful in IT. And we need to also celebrate women that are successful so that people can see role model. That's one. The other part of it is also, the fact that even at school, girls should be encouraged to take on maths because it's needed in every aspect of life. Also encourage people that maths is not difficult, because once there's a mindset that something is difficult, then it's for men. If it's soft, it's for women. Maths is not difficult. It's just like we are trying to solve for solution. And in this world, there is problem. We all need to solve for solution, whether we're using XYZ or we're using, our intuition. So it's very good for us to start that encouragement. And it's also important that we encourage women that are in STEM. Because when you go to school, especially in university, I've heard a lot of people say that, even though I don't have the statistics, that when you have 10 girls starting in year 1 in engineering, by the time they're graduating, maybe they drop to 4. Why? Why do we have that a very high rate of, non-completion in engineering? Because there are fewer girls, so that people when you don't see a lot of your tribe, then there is tendencies to be discouraged along the way. So we also need to build structure to encourage the little ones that are there, celebrate them, let them look like a role model to others. Even within schools, it's very important that we create the structure for people that are in STEM to coach and mentor others. You don't really need to graduate or be a country manager or be this person to be a mentor or a coach or a motivation for other people. In our own different spheres of life, we can actually do that. And when we do that, we continue to tell the stories, educate more people. All this will be changing. It's not something that can be done in a day, and it's not only something that can be done by one person. It takes a whole community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ola. I quite agree with you. And then, so I think before I go to my next question, I have a little bit of something to collaborate what just Ola said. I remember when I was in school, electrical, because I did electrical electronics, and then the funny part of it is that out of 114, were only 3 girls. And then it's only 2 of, what did I say, 2? At the end of the whole day, I'm the only one standing, really. So it goes a long way to tell you it goes a long way to really tell you that this thing has to be corrected even right in from the school, really, because when you celebrate it and then you can encourage it, you can have more women at the end of the day come out in IT roles and all of that. Thank you so much, Ola, for that. Now, one of the things that comes to mind and a lot of people have asked is that, do you see the need for a legislation or strict enforcement of the law in the quest to build an enabling ecosystem for women in IT?
Yeah, I think the government is doing a great job. But there's still a lot of room for improvement. Legislation will help a great deal, but it also needs to be looked at in the context of what we're trying to achieve. It's not just about legislation so that people are forced to do something, but it's just also the mindset that needs to be changed. But beyond legislation, a lot of education and buy-in is really, really required. People need to see the benefit, and they need to understand how supporting women actually is for the common goal of the society, and it benefits everyone. Because for every one woman that is educated or impacted in a specific way, it touches average of 5 people, right? And if we look at the society today, especially with what COVID has done, our CEO Satya Nadella said COVID had made us to achieve 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. And this means a lot of jobs that were not, digital inclined will no longer come back. And women are in the category, are mostly affected by those kind of jobs. So but if we don't see that from a big picture, then legislation can come and people just do it just to get by. But that's not what we want. We want people to understand that this is an impact on the overall society. Imagine if maybe 50% of the women workforce are out of job and they don't have a new path to go into, which is IT industry is actually creating more jobs these days, then it impacts the entire society. So education, people seeing, understanding the impact of women being empowered in IT is super critical, and it will help a great deal.
This is great. This is great. I've learned, I've picked up a lot of things while you're speaking. And again, I'm happy to be here. And I'll just ask this, that what is the best way? Now, I'm speaking for myself. I don't know if I'm speaking on behalf of anyone. What's the best way that I, Tosin, can ask Ola, to be my mentor? So in essence, I'm just saying, okay, what's the best way that women in tech can ask, senior leaders, C-level management, and all of these top, superiors at workplace to be their mentor?
Very good. Before I answer that question, I'll tell you my experience. At some point in my career within Microsoft, I knew that I needed guidance, right? And I need to, I need to be mentored to go to the level that I needed to be. We were in one of our events, and there's this one of the senior leaders that I admire so much, right? Because of her grit, her level of impact. And I detailed 1, 2, 3 things that I want to achieve, and 1, 2, 3 things that I believe that she can help me to achieve that. And I walked up to her, and I said, hello. I introduced myself and I told her my plan and what I need from her. I was pleasantly surprised by her warmth, her smile, and her readiness to help. And she told me, Ola, I'm very busy, but because of you have a clear sense of where you want to go, I'm happy to work with you. And to me, I didn't even know I had clear sense of where I wanted to go. I just needed to, I knew that this is to me, I thought it wasn't clear. But to her, you have a clear sense. And that was motivating for me. Then she said, even though I'm busy, I can't commit to what you're asking for. I was asking for a weekly connect. She said, we can do monthly. And that was okay for me, right? So please don't be as afraid to raise up your hand to ask for support. There are only 2 answers in this world for that: yes or no. But you will never know what you will get if you don't ask. But when you want to ask, make sure that you're asking for a purpose, not just asking because I need to ask. It's really important that you have a clarity in mind. And when also asking, we also need to go with the mindset of also adding value to the other person in our own little way. It doesn't have to be, exceptional, but we have something to offer. Everyone have something to offer. It might not be relevant to them immediately, but you never can tell where it will be required. But don't be afraid to ask, but be very clear on what you want.
Yes, be
Great
very
answer.
clear.
I think I got my own answer as well, because I was asking for myself. So I got my answer.
Wow.
See, I don't want to believe that you're that selfish. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
Apologies. But
No, no.
I'm sure you understand.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Ola. I mean, that says it all, because truly, I mean, it is not about you collecting from people. That's one thing I take from this. I mean, be also ready to add value back to that same person that is investing time, that is investing energy, even in mentoring, coaching you. Thank you. So my question would be, what are the necessary soft skills to be an effective leader?
Look, leadership is about integrity.
Mm.
Leadership is about being genuinely interested to lead. But, to do that, you need to trust the people around you. They don't need to have everything, but trust them that they will learn and also be willing to support them to learn. When you genuinely invest in people, people will also be genuinely invested in making sure that you're also successful as a leader, because that's actually how it is. Then I think for me personally, empathy is really important. For a leader to be successful, you need to have empathy. And empathy meaning that you really want to understand what people want and how you can support them to achieve that. Empathy also involves, helping people to see the right picture and be willing to support them to step into that place that you think is important for them. And as leader, you also need to listen a lot, because sometimes most leaders feel, oh, because I'm leader, I know it. We are limited to areas where we can see, but a lot of people know so much. But if as a leader you're not providing that environment to help people to be able to be open to contribute to your success, then you're actually limiting yourself. So it's very important to have diverse view, to be able to take on diverse view, take on constructive feedback, and continue to work on yourself as a leader. Those are critical, and there's so many other things to have, being genuinely invested in people, checking on, checking, caring for people, being, and also modeling what you want people to be. You can't be telling people be this and you're doing otherwise. You have to model what you want them to become so that they can see it in you and be able to know that this is possible. I can actually be this. It's not that difficult. So for example, when I look at my mentor, she's quite busy, right? And when other people comes to me, I look at my workload, then I remind myself, if my own mentor who is looking after a very large region and is able to do that, then I can do it. So she had modeled that to me, and I'm able to also model it to other people, and the list goes on and on.
Very true. Very true.
Wow.
Thank you for that answer. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
I hope you're not going to ask a selfish question, Tosin. But yeah.
Okay. No, I wouldn't have selfish question anymore. Okay, this time around, I'm representing the entire women on this call, and here is, I think, in this part of the world, I don't know, maybe Sheryl will tell me how it is, in our own part of the world. I mean, Nigeria specifically. There's this way they look at women. Once you're, trying to get yourself inspired and, walk into this STEM workforce, in quotes, they label you, or should I say tag you, oh, career woman. She's not going to be a good housemaker. I mean, in terms of family, she's not going to be good at this because she is a career woman. She would not have time for children. She would not have time for, people. It's just she's just going to be married to her work. Now, God help that career woman. Maybe she's not married yet. Oh my God, then it becomes a stereotype. So now my question is, how are you able to have this work-life balance in terms of work at home, in the office, family, and all of those things? How are you able to manage it, ma'am?
Um, you know, no man is an island, right? There's no we are all super women, but there is really no super woman. I think answering for myself personally, I'm thankful I have a very good support structure. My family understand, what I do. And I'm also humble enough to accept when I make mistakes, to say, okay, how can we balance it out? What do we need to do? And I don't always want to show that I can do it all. There's so many brilliant people around me that I can leverage to support me. But look, it's okay to be a career woman. It's not a, if you look at it as a bad label, then it defines how you react to people, how you respond. But if you look at it that, look, it's okay, I'm working, I'm doing what is right, then it helps you to sit down to say, how can I make it work for everyone? What are the challenges that I need to navigate? Who are the people that can support me to navigate those challenges? The ones I can't navigate, or I don't have answers to, is there a way to work around it? There's no perfect, way of engaging because everyone's life is peculiar and our scenarios and, circumstances are different. But what I think we all have in common is our diversity. And let's look at our diversity as our strength. It's okay to be a career woman, but have a very positive mindset about it. And always reinforce to yourself that I'm going to be successful here in my career and I'm going to build my family if, family is something that you want to build. But admit that you don't know it all. Talk to people that have gone through that route. Understand their challenges. How have they been able to navigate it? It might not be peculiar to you, but at least you would have learned a principle that you can apply to your life. And when you make mistakes, be open to say, okay, this is an error on my path. I didn't do it well here. Then I learned from it. What can I do in future to avoid it? So, be comfortable in your own skin. It's okay to be soft as a woman. It's okay to be kind as a career woman. It's okay to, to hug people, to smile at people. Don't say because, oh, we're a career woman, you have to be, behave like a man and be hard. No, we are women. We are okay the way we are. Just be who you have been designed to be, but get help. Please get help is very important. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I think I don't have question again. You've just summarized it. I don't know if Jumoke do have, but for me,
Yes, I still
I'm
have.
fine. I'm
I think this
fine.
is my last question for her. So I remember when I started my journey in IT, and I said I used to say this a lot. And I happened to go to Port Harcourt for a deployment. And the first thing that happened to me is that why the guy was expecting a male actually, but because my voice sounds most times like if you don't put a face to it, you think he's a guy that is talking. And then when he saw that it was a lady, I was stretching my hand to say, good afternoon, I'm here. And then my hand was left hanging and he just walked past asking for where's my boss and all of that. That is the worst experience so far as a woman in tech because, it takes a lot of courage to bounce back because you are ignored, and then to be focused on on what you came to do then. So my question would be, what was your worst day or experience as a woman in tech? I don't know if you have any, but like me, I've said. And then how are you able to overcome those experiences? Let's adventure. Some of our
Yeah.
female here also are going through that.
Look, I know what you're talking about. I've had my own fair share of those experiences. Before, it used to weigh me down. I used to feel like I need to, do something harsh or, respond, but that is not, it's not the right response.
Yeah.
Now I no longer see it as a worse experience. Now I see it as an opportunity to help that person to understand where he is. And you'll be amazed that people really need to be educated, right? And I also have learned that as women, we need to learn to tell our stories. So let me first of all speak about the first one. Rather than respond negatively to a difficult situation because I'm a woman, I take it as an opportunity to coach the person involved if I'm in that position to do that, because it's not always that case. But for myself as well, I also look at it that how can I help another person in future not to feel what I'm feeling? So
Mm.
rather than taking in the negative impact, I turn it around to be positive. For example, I orchestrated um, an engagement that was very successful in my maybe mid-career, and I shared it with one of my leaders that is a man. And when he was sending out the information, he removed my name and put the name of another guy in my team. I felt very bad. I felt very bitter. But when I sat down to think about it, and I said, look, you gave him the opportunity. If you had told your stories, right, yourself, that would not have happened. So rather than sitting down, moaning on what he did, I turned that as a lesson to say, next time, learn to tell your
Mm.
story and tell it well. Because if you leave it to others, then you are helping them to tell it the way they feel. So that is an example of, turning a bad situation to a learning opportunity for myself. It hurts. I will not deny that. But what I can encourage you is don't allow that, events, the hurt, the hard feelings to weigh you down or make you react in a negative way. But always make sure that you translate that to a positive opportunity for yourself.
Thank you so much, Ola, and thank you so much. Ola has another call. I'm sure I've kept her even beyond the time. I mean, it's really, really an honor to have you. Like I said, I mean, this is another woman that has contributed and I've learned even while I was growing up. I used to call her Big Sis then, please, and then she just sent me some. She just sent me some articles and then she sent me, I mean, she was there for me while I was also coming up in my career. Thank you so much, Ola, for honoring this. And then thank you so very much for giving us this. I mean, we've learned so much. I will say to myself, I mean, a lot of things I've just gotten from what you've said here. I mean, they're takeaways for me. I really, really appreciate. We would have loved to still have you, but I'm sure, just like you said, you have another call. And then thank you for accepting. We'll hope to bring you back. I hope you're not going to deny us. Yes, we hope to bring you back, at least for our final December. So we hope that you can also be on our show in December. All right, Tosi, over to
Thank you
you. I
so
think
much for
you have
having
Yes,
me.
thank
I've
you.
really enjoyed the interaction, and I wish everyone the best.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Ola.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
Thank you.
much.
So I
Bye for
think all
now,
of us, we can
everyone.
send our loves, we can send loves and then our hugs and our clap to Ola for a very good session. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Uh,
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
right. Okay. All right. We're just getting started. It was really great having Ola on the call. So very quickly, we are going to move to the next thing. But one thing, I have a question here. Is a trivia, basically. And if you don't mind, let's see how we can answer this quickly. So the question is, which invention was created because of coffee? We have the options here on the screen. A, mug. B, sweetener. C, webcam. D, pestle and mortar. E, electric heater. So I'm sure you could quickly, you know, get responses. We have, pool where you can just send in the answers, and that way we know what we have. Okay, someone is saying E. Please, I need more responses. Please keep it coming. Keep it
Please try,
coming.
try.
Keep it
Hey, mug.
coming. A mug. Of course, if you look at it, if you want to drink coffee, but I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a spoiler, but please let's bring the responses coming. Please, please bring it coming.
Don't worry, we don't need to see your face. Just give us the answer. Easy.
Yes, just put it in the chat window. It's just a trivia to help us relax before we, welcome our next speaker. This is another person I'm so looking forward to hear from her. And yes, I do have questions. I'm excited already. So let's keep it. Someone says, spoilers alert. All right. MJ, please let me know when we can, say the final answer before we.
Yes, I think we got the answer somehow. So I think we're done.
All right, so great. Finally, we have our answer. It's the answer basically is C, and it's webcam. And I'm sure you'll be wondering, like, webcam, how it doesn't relate. Someone like me, I'm sure I would have gone for mug, because what's the essence of drinking coffee if not using the mug to drink coffee, rather than player. But let me just help us understand where this came from. So there used to be, back then, from the Cambridge University, there's something called the Trojan room coffee pots, back then. So they invented, people usually would want to get coffee, and they have to get up from their seats, walk down to where the coffee pot is. And on getting there, you imagine the frustration of the coffee has finished and you got up all the way to go get coffee. So that was an issue, back then for this set of people. So they sat down and thought of a solution. And interestingly, that's what technology is about: solutions, solving problems. So they thought about the solution of what can we do such that we don't have to get up each time, get into the coffee pot, and to everyone's disappointment, the coffee is over. So they decided to, invent and create this webcam such that they can monitor the coffee pot. That's odd, right? But that's exactly what they did, such that they're able to monitor whenever the coffee is going down or there's no coffee there anymore. They can quickly alert for it to be filled so that they don't have to walk that distance and saying that there's no coffee. So the first and the major invention of the webcam that you and I are using today for Teams call, Zoom call, and every other meeting, the first invention was for coffee. Interestingly. So yes, we have
Omolele.
Omolele.
Omoele.
So
Omoele. Yeah.
all right, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that's hard, and there's a lot to take in, but now you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we go on, Tosin, I think you're the one taking this. Before we go on, before we bring in Shirley to the call again, we just want you to quickly watch this video. It's just a little one. I mean, this will set the tone also for our own presentation. Okay,
It's
so I
not
keep
playing.
getting message that is not playing. Is it playing? Am I sure of that? Tosin, are you able
Um,
to?
yes,
It's
I'm
not
able
playing.
to hear from my hand. Can we have any other person that is able to hear and watch?
I
Yeah,
keep getting
yeah.
message.
It's
You were
been,
able
yeah,
to
I've
see?
been
Yeah.
enjoying that.
Okay.
Good. It's good.
All right. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
some
Keep
people are
getting message
confirming
of the audio.
yes
It's
and
not,
all
Okay.
right.
it's not playing on my end.
All
I
right.
don't know if it's a network issue.
I
Possibly,
think the network issue.
maybe you might want
So,
to rejoin quickly and all. Don't worry, we also drop the link or something after this.
This is true.
okay, over to you, Tosin.
All right. Thank you very much, Jumoke. Now, this is the part I'm going to be taking my pen to paper to jot, a lot of things. So we are having Shalane. I hope I'm pronouncing your name well. Please, apologies if I'm not
That's
doing that
okay.
correctly. Uh, she will be speaking to us how to influence your idea with the right communication skills, and that's the essence of that short video. How you can pitch your idea. I'm sure we also how she got the attention of that man. So Shelley, I'm not going to talk much. I'll just allow Shelley do the talking because I'm interested. I want to be able to walk through to Satya and get his attention. I want to be able to walk through Jeff Bezos and just command their attention. It's possible, right? I'm sure Shalom would help with the trick. So
Well,
I'll allow Shelly to please go ahead and tell us all how we can influence idea with the right communication skills.
okay.
Um,
Cool, cool.
yes.
I'm just going to share my, I have a small slide deck which
Yeah.
is going to accompany me, if that's okay. I'm just going to share my screen now. If you could let me know when you're able to see it.
Yeah, I can see it from my end.
Fab. Okay, and you can hear me okay, right?
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Right,
Yes.
I'm just going to talk through actually some ideas that we've come across previously in some of our textilers sessions, and something that I came across in my work with an organisation called Wentors, who work closely with textilers as well. So just to begin, I'm going to just introduce myself. My name is Sheryl Netley. And as was mentioned earlier, I've worked in tech. Actually, it's almost 30 years now, sort of heading that way. But just in the past sort of 3 years, I've worked in Dynamics in the Power Platform. And one of my mantras, because of that, actually, is that it's never too late, right? It's never too late to try something new. Additionally, because of the work that I do in the community with textilers and Wentors and other groups, another one actually of my mantras is we rise by lifting others, right? And we've heard so much already from Ola and from people on the call about how important it is for us to support each other, particularly as women in tech. So hopefully, we're going to find a few more ways that we can do that during this session now. So these are the few points that I'm going to cover during this presentation, which is really, what do we mean when we talk about communication? What sort of styles may there be that we could make use of, right? And what communication methods could we use to actually improve the level of influence that we might have on ideas and on different concepts within organizations? I'm also going to cover something called communicating from a place of power, which was something that we covered in Textilers a little while ago. And I'm going to go back over it just as a reminder for those of us that were able to see it, and to share it with those of us who've not actually been able to see that yet. And lastly, I'm just going to talk about holding your seat, okay, which is something that I believe is important for us all as women in tech. So what do we mean when we talk about communication? You can see that I've just got here the dictionary definition of what communication is. So it's imparting or interchange of thoughts, opinions, or information by speech, writing, or signs, right? So there are two sort of concepts here. The first part, which is about, you know, the sort of what it is we're doing, and the second part, which sort of relates to how we do it. So I'm going to come on to how we do it later, but just to begin, let's think about the first part of that sentence there, which is the imparting or interchange of thoughts, opinions, or information. So imparting sort of suggests that we're sharing our own ideas with somebody, okay? And that pretty much seems like maybe a one-way sort of exchange. The second word, interchange, that suggests a two-way exchange of ideas. But I actually think, you know, that in both cases, it's really important that we are able to open a channel with the person that we're communicating with. And note that I say communicating with and not to, right? Because it's really important to ensure that when we're communicating, we're reaching a common understanding, right? And then we need to be able to ensure whatever it is that we're communicating with that person or with those people is actually effective, right? And for us to be able to do that, we need some element of actually rapport. So how can we be sure that we are communicating effectively, right? So there are a number of ways we can do that. And one of the ways that I've come across, actually, I came across this way some years ago when I was working for a Microsoft partner, and they wanted to improve the effectiveness of the way we were selling ourselves actually to our customers, and to other members of like the Microsoft community, right? So the profiling method that we used at that point in time is called DISC. And this is something, although I first came across this a few years ago, as I say, a Microsoft partner, this is something that also has been introduced in the Mentors community, which is the mentoring for women in tech community. And this is called the DISC profiling method. And DISC stands for those four words that you see there: dominance, influence, steadiness, and consciousness. So each of those are considered to be a particular style of communication that may be preferred by certain people depending on their sort of personality, okay? And the model essentially provides a common language that people can use to better understand themselves and the people that they interact with, okay? As I've said, I came across this because the partner that I was working for wanted us to learn to actually develop stronger sales skills. It's also used for things like self-awareness, improving teamwork, making some conflict a bit more productive. And I'm going to come on to sort of how we handle conflict a little bit later, and managing people more effectively, okay? So the first element of DISC, or the first sort of personality or communication style that we come across there, is the D, right? Which people with D personalities tend to be more confident and place an emphasis on accomplishing results, right? They are winners. They're people focused on winning, competition, success, and they prioritize sort of taking action. They'll take challenges and they'll want to achieve results, right? Where this comes into play and why this is important for us to understand is that when we are dealing with people, when we're trying to communicate with people who have more of a D type personality, we need to target our communication more towards those things that they value, right? That winning, the success orientated sort of achievement based value set. Additionally, what this tells us is people with that D sort of personality, they actually have a number of fears, okay? So they really, really like the whole winning side of things. They're direct, they're determined, they're driven, but they fear being seen as vulnerable and being taken advantage of. And if we know that, actually, we can gear our communications towards actually making them feel less vulnerable, making them feel less like they're being taken advantage of. Okay. And that can actually then work to our benefit. The next one, the I personality. This is about people who are more likely to influence, and they tend to be more open, and they'll place an emphasis on things like relationships, and influencing or persuading other people. They tend to be, and I like this one because I'm more of an I person. So I'm just gonna, tell you how great these people are. They tend to be quite enthusiastic, optimistic, open-minded, trusting, energetic, and you probably can recognize people that with an I type personality. They're often described as warm, trusting, optimistic, magnetic, all these lovely things. But just like the people with the D personalities, they have fears as well, okay? And they fear things like loss of influence or disapproval, not being liked or being rejected. And because, excuse me, because we know this about them, when we communicate with them, so long as we actually, give them confidence that actually they're not going to lose influence, they're not going to be disapproved or ignored, then that communication will be a lot more effective. The next communication style that we come across are the people with the S personalities, and the S stands for steadiness, right? In the disc profiling circle, and these people tend to be sort of like more dependable. They're very sincere, very supportive, and they place an emphasis on things like cooperation, loyalty, and dependability, right? They tend to be calm, they tend to be quite deliberate, and they don't like to be rushed. And so when you think of someone with an S-type personality, again, they have fears, just like the D's and the I's, and their fears are really based around things like change, okay, loss of stability, maybe offending other people or letting people down. And again, when we're creating our communications for this sort of person, we know that if we actually play to that, if we actually support them, and if we help them feel less fearful of things like those loss of stability or offending others or letting people down, then they're more likely actually to accept our communications. The very last one is the C personality, and these people place an emphasis on things like quality, accuracy, expertise, and competency. Okay, and the C stars are motivated by opportunities to gain knowledge, to show their expertise, and to produce quality work. Okay, they, as I mentioned, they prioritize to ensure accuracy, and their fears include anything to do with criticism or being wrong, and they shy away from strong displays of emotion. So when we're communicating with them, we need to be sure that we do it in a way that allays those fears, okay, that plays to the things that they value, the accuracy, the quality, expertise, okay. So it's important to remember that although we have these disc styles, right, I jokingly was talking about the high I people, right, the people who are influencers, but actually no disc style is any better than any other, right? As human beings, we're all individuals, and I think some of what Ola was saying earlier actually echoes to that, right? Disc will just help us to find out which sort of style people gravitate more towards, and to help adjust our communications to reach them in a better place, right? To reach them in their own place, okay? And with that knowledge, and we can understand their underlying tendencies and adapt our behaviors and our communications to interact with other people more effectively, okay? So we've talked about communication styles, just quickly to go on to communication methods. Obviously, there are lots of ways that we communicate with people. Communicate by speech, by writing, by signs. Okay, speech can include things like team sessions, phone calls, meetings, presentations, conversations at the water cooler, right? There are lots of ways that, you know, we can communicate with people by speech. Writing could be documentation, it could be emails, it could be blogs, it could be articles. And signs, and you know, this is one of the most important things. We do communicate with people via non-verbal or non-written methods. And the main one is by using body language. Okay, and it's so important that we realize that actually our body language is one of the main ways that we communicate with other people. We're aware of it and we notice it in other people. And we're going to talk in a minute about listening and how important listening is. And listening with your eyes is actually just as important as listening with your ears, right? And because we're using all these different communication methods with people, it's really important that we find a way to effectively tell our stories, okay, and that we get our point across really well. One of the best ways actually that I have found to improve my own storytelling is actually by watching TED Talks. And you know, I don't know if you've heard of TED Talks, but there are an awful lot of TED Talks that guide you through how to be a more effective storyteller. Okay, and I can recommend looking at those. And actually, I've included some resources at the end that include a particularly helpful TED Talk that I've seen. Okay, another way, actually, when we're thinking about our verbal communication, there is an international organization called Toastmasters, and Toastmasters will help you improve the way that you are able to present information verbally, okay, and get those stories told in a way that can be really very well understood by the person or the people that you're communicating with. I'm just going to talk for a little bit now about communicating from a place of power. So in March this year, actually, at a session that I hosted, which was, you know, really nice, our inspirational session, our Textilers inspirational session, included a session from my friend Sam Tullock. And Sam is actually an author and a speaker in the UK. And as I say, I'm really lucky that she's my personal friend. She came to talk to us about communicating from a place of power. And for those of you who weren't able to watch that particular session, I'm just going to go over some of the things that Sam taught us, actually, you know, myself included, about how to actually, you know, when you come to deliver your, you know, your communications, if they're verbal communications, how you can do that in a stronger way. Because typically, you know, as women, we're not encouraged to be overly assertive, right? But we need to have those techniques, right? Those techniques to be able to get our points across. Sam really gave us three techniques that are really key. The first one is to make sure that you understand or that you have put in place some internal building blocks to help you communicate well. Think about your strengths, okay? Think about who you are, you know, find your power. And what Sam did during the session that we held was to get us all to maybe think about 3 words that describe ourselves, okay? So that we really came to understand who we are and how we might want to communicate with other people, in order so that we then can think about what our own preferred method of communication might be, along the lines of the DISC profiling, right? Understand what sort of person we are, how best we communicate. The second thing that Sam taught us was to build a toolkit. Once we know who we are and how we want to communicate, build a toolkit that helps us to actually get our point across, right? Use the right methods, understand how we can apply communication techniques. Maybe, and this was the great thing that Sam actually suggested, because I've never done it before, to create a spreadsheet, just something simple like a spreadsheet, just or a list, right, outlining the sort of scenarios that you face when you need to communicate with people day to day, right? And plan your communication style in advance, okay, so that always you are responding in a particular situation. You're not just reacting, okay? Because sometimes, particularly when we're dealing with those people who don't necessarily like things that are emotive, right? They want things to be planned, they want things to be run on an even keel, they want to know the reasons why, they want to know how this is going to be, a winning situation for them, right? We can plan those things in advance and make sure that we're delivering communication that is going to be well received, okay? And the last thing that Sam actually taught us was that we can make some physical tweaks, okay, when we are communicating. And I've noticed myself do it even as I've been going through this particular slide. I have sat up straight. I have brought my chin up, okay? I have just rolled my shoulders back a little bit so that I feel more comfortable, okay? And the last thing that Sam taught us, just put your hand on your diaphragm there, just just on the top of your stomach. Feel yourself breathe in, feel yourself breathe out, be confident. And that really does make a difference, honestly. Those of us who were on the call way back in March, we did this, and physically, and you can notice a physical and a mental difference in the confidence that emanates when you do those simple things, okay? Lastly, I just want to talk about holding your seat. For those of us, who have been fortunate to get a seat at the table, right? Or for those of you who will have a seat at the table at some point in the future. In other words, you might be in a leadership position or a position with the opportunity to shape or influence or impact decisions. There's a reason why you've got that. Somebody advocated for you, okay? Or you've earned it, you've earned that position, and you've proven that you deserve to be there. You need to remind yourself of that, okay? And you also need to advocate for others, okay? When you go into meetings, when you go into these arenas where you may be asked to communicate, and particularly where people are discussing ideas, they're discussing options that they may make a decision about, okay, there are certain things that we can do as women to support each other, okay? The first one is to stop self-sabotaging each other, right? Don't become outspoken or emotional. It is easy sometimes to let your feelings carry you away, okay? I would say always prepare when you know that you're going to go to a meeting or somewhere where where decisions may be influenced. Prepare particularly for the unhappy path, okay? Talk yourself through the questions that are going to be asked. Think about what's going to happen. People who don't like your ideas, what are they going to say? Be ready for that criticism, and so that you don't actually respond with emotion, that you don't react with emotion, that you respond with actually well thought out responses, okay? Also, never ever try to one up anyone. So don't try to make yourself look good, especially by putting someone else down, especially not another woman, okay? And if you are in that, that situation where things become emotional, just check yourself for a minute. Maybe people are getting a bit unhappy, other people are in the meeting or whatever. Just take a moment, breathe, okay? You don't have to sort of rush into anything. The next thing is just to know who you are, pretty much as Sam told us in the Communicating from a Place of Power session. Communicate as yourself, right? Communicate honestly. And Ola actually talked about this earlier. communicate honestly and with integrity, right? And be generous, okay? Be generous about other people's ideas, okay? And generously share your own, okay? Don't hold things back, okay? And don't try to be someone that you aren't. Sometimes, you know, we can feel pressure as women to behave a bit more like men. We don't need to do that, right? We don't need to do that. We are enough, okay? And the next thing that I'm just going to come on to is I spoke a little bit about body language, and I mentioned, you know, listen with your eyes. How often have you been speaking with someone, you've been trying to get a point across, you've been explaining something, and suddenly you see that they start to fidget and they're fiddling and they're looking around the room? And, you know, how do we react in that situation? Do we speak louder? Do we try to be more assertive and pull them back? No, that's not how we're going to win anyone over, right? If we see those things happening, if we see that we're maybe losing people, we need to just stop for a second. We need to breathe. We need to diffuse any situation, and we just need to get back on track. Okay. And lastly, here, I just want to mention, you know, again, another concept that Ola mentioned earlier was to find some allyship, right? If you know that you're going to communicate a particular idea, you know, that may not be a popular opinion, or that, you know, that you are going into a meeting where you will have opponents, you know, there are people who are going to be, you know, against what that you're trying to communicate and the ideas that you're trying to put across. Find friends, right? Find people who will support you. It's this not, you know, what we do is not a solo sport. This is a team game, right? And we're all there to support each other. Okay. Finally, I've got just some resources here that might, you know, might be helpful. So I've listed there the DISC profile website, which is really helpful if you'd like to look into any more information about sort of how that works, what it's all about. Honestly, I can recommend it. As I say, I know myself, and I've come to understand other people a little bit better, and other people's needs actually when it comes to communication, because this is a two-way thing, right? And it's all about meeting the needs of the person that you're communicating with in some way. I've come to understand other people's needs a lot better by understanding that, you know, it's okay for them to be different to me. I can actually target what I'm saying better to meet their needs if I can understand what they are, right? So have a look at that. There is one of the TED Talks that I was talking about earlier, how to avoid death by PowerPoint, by David J.B. Phillips. This guy's amazing, right? Honestly, he's really good. Hopefully I haven't killed you with PowerPoint today. Hopefully I've taken his lessons on board. I would definitely take a look at that if you are, you know, if you're ever involved in helping to give presentations where you will be using PowerPoint as a visual aid. Okay. The textilist session that Sam presented at about communicating from a place of power, the link is there. I can recommend watching it. It was actually really good fun. And then something that actually I've read recently about getting a seat at the table, that I thought I'd just drop in because it was really helpful. Finally, a link for leanin.org. So I don't know if many people, or I guess a lot of people, hopefully have heard of Sheryl Sandberg. She used to be the CEO at Facebook. And she is running now an organization called Lean In, where specifically women can create what are called circles and help to support each other. Okay. And there is a really nice piece on allyship at work on that website. And yeah, go and have a look. Okay, so I don't know if anyone's got any questions. I was pre-warned about a couple of questions. So the first question that I was pre-warned about, should I just carry on, MJ, or do you want to ask me the questions?
Right, Tosin, I think that's your question.
Yeah.
You're
Tosin,
muted.
yeah.
Okay. I'm actually seeing someone's hand up, and that's why I'm taking the pause. To allow room for questions. So, if you don't mind, maybe we can take the person's hand up. I can have my afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Anita, please go ahead. We can see your hands up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I was wondering, in the event that you're communicating with a dominant person, a dominant
Oh,
communicator,
yeah.
and maybe his or her response throws you off, like in the moment, how does one take control of that situation?
Yep. Okay. So well, I actually used to work for a guy who is extremely D, right? Extremely D. And he would never like any sort of like, you know, um, in indecisiveness, right? He hated it. He wanted to know. He was your typical D. He wanted to know straight away. What's the answer? Want the answer now? Want the answer now? Want to know how I'm going to win now? Um, so what you have to do in that situation where you don't have the answer immediately, right, is that you have to tell him exactly when he's going to get his answer. Okay, so if they've said something to you and they've thrown you off, it's okay for you to, stop for a second, think for a second, think, right, okay, I haven't, he wants, I don't know, he wants next quarter's sales projections or something, and he wants it now. It's okay for you to say, I don't have that with me right now. I can get it to you by the end of today, or I can get that to you by 10 a.m. It's okay to do that. The main thing is that his immediate requirement for information, which he's always going to want now, if you can meet that immediate requirement, then that will buy you some time to actually go away and get the more fuller answer. Is that what you had in mind?
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like that, I find, yeah, this guy, I mean, we didn't get along so well, to be honest, because it was really a difficult relationship. He was so high D and I'm so high I. So, it's a difficult relationship. But, once I understood him and the way I needed to communicate with him a little bit better, it did make things much easier, actually.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anita, for that question. That was a really great question.
That was a great question.
So while Charlotte was speaking, I picked note of the body language, and I think I've had my own fair share there. There was a time I was in former place of work. Usually when we have meeting, the usual toast is always up and talking, asking question, or just wanted to make a conversation. But for this very day, I think I was just there. It wasn't like I was unhappy. I just felt like keeping quiet. And I did not know I had this particular body language that was sending a negative vibes. I didn't know. All I knew was I wanted to be quiet. Like, I don't want to talk today. I'm used to talking. And today I just want to be in the meeting, listening. If I listen attentively and just leave the meeting. No question asked, no contribution, just that, not because I was sad, but I just wanted to be quiet. I wanted to pull back. But I was doing that innocently. But unfortunately, this turned around in the sense that my boss that period, was mad. I would typically use the word mad, letting me know that I was rude for not, having eye contact. I was sending a negative vibes in the room, and I was just lost. Now, for people out there that might fall into the category, how do you maintain this positive body language that you're not sending a negative. I don't know if you understand me in
Okay.
such a way.
Yeah, I
Because
get
I
it.
meant well, I did not want to talk, but it turned out to, it turned against me.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I mean, I believe actually I think your boss was wrong in that situation, completely wrong, because that body language is a thing, right? But it can't, it doesn't apply. It's like a tool in a toolbox. It's one of the tools you can use to understand what's going on in any situation, but it's not the only tool, and it's not the only way you can determine whether or not somebody's engaged in a particular concept. And you have to understand that you can get an idea of engagement from body language, but you won't 100% know whether someone's engaged by how they're sitting or whether they have maintained eye contact with you. You have to and this is where the disc profiling comes into play as well, because everybody is different, and you have to appreciate, there's this thing that people say that you have to meet people in their onlyness, right? You have to understand that everyone's unique. And while yes, you can, if everyone in the room was fidgeting and looking the other way, right, then yes, by all means, that body language, if everyone in the room is like clearly bored, then you've lost the audience, right? But if one person in the room has got their arms folded, it's not necessarily that they are taking a negative stance. It could be that they're cold. For me, I get cold. I get really cold fingers because I've got bad circulation. So I tend to fold my arms a lot because I have to keep my hands warm, right? It doesn't mean that I'm not engaging with people. It just means that I've got cold hands. And for somebody to assume, and this is the thing, you shouldn't ever make the assumption or these sweeping generalizations. Be aware of it, okay? It's something to be aware of, but don't base all of your judgment, right? Don't base all of your judgment purely on, body language alone. Use other, use other tools. Just if you feel if you feel that someone's body language is such that they're not engaged with you, just prompt. Don't go off at them and accuse them and of not being engaged. Just gently try to sort of bring them round a little bit and see if they respond. And if they respond with a smile, right, and then carry on folding their arms, they're fine. They've just got cold hands, right? Just as I say, it's not the only way to establish whether or not somebody is engaged. Okay.
Yeah, you're speaking, Tosin. You're muted, Tosin.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. That was really well answered in a way. I don't know if MJ can permit this last question for the day, or is something we can just continue in the chat. Probably drop it in the chat, and Shirley could answer us in the chat because of time. There are furthermore questions, but I don't know if it's something.
I've got
Okay,
two questions here.
I think Sherry is making.
I can
Right,
quickly answer these two, right? I had one question. Suppose I have a brilliant idea. My direct line manager is not ready to listen. Is it okay to go above them to present the concept directly to someone more senior? I would say, firstly, speak to them and ask them why. Okay, why? Because they may know things that you don't know, right? And they may be basing their decisions on those things. Failing that, if you feel that it's a personal grudge, right, and sometimes you'll get that, I would say most organizations have something called an improvement team, or they have a suggestion box. If you don't have that in your organization, go to HR and suggest that you have. Why don't you have an improvement team? Why don't you have a suggestion box? And then that way you can pursue your idea without undermining your direct line manager, because you've got to work with them every day. So I wouldn't be confrontational, but I still would not let it go. Okay. The next question was, do I have to get everyone to like me to influence my idea at work? Absolutely not, right? Absolutely not. It's not a popularity contest. If you've got a great idea, the chances are it's a great idea for everybody. Okay. Find out what the benefit is of your idea and sell it. And it's that simple. Okay, that's everything.
Thank
Nailed
you.
it. Nailed it. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you for this time. Thank you. I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, I almost wanted to say I think I play in the old disc profile. At a point I said, okay, yes, I think I am. I look at this and I said, I mean, so, and I guess also you can be a combination of more than one disc profile, really. So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
so
definitely.
thank
Yeah.
you so much. It's always nice having you and then speaking with you. More love from me, yeah. I'm always like I'm
Same. I've
one of your
missed
fans
you.
any day.
I've missed you so much.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
guys, I do miss everyone else. I've been away and so but there I'm back. I'm back home now. All right. Thank you so much for that. Toss it over to you. This is your show. I guess
We
that's all from my end.
All right. Thank you. I think at this point we had come to the end of this interesting edition of our inspirational session. For the video that we're playing earlier, I've dropped the link in the meeting chat for us to enjoy on our own, even outside this call. And I would say apologies for that extra 3 minutes, that we spent on the call. I'm sure you will all agree with me that it was worth it. I learned a lot in terms of communication, leadership, especially communication. These days where you don't have to see face to face and you have to communicate, it's a skill on its own, and I've learned so much. So thank you very much, Sheryl. Thank you, MJ. Thank you, everyone, for your time so far. I don't know if MJ has anything to say before we call it a day.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing more but than just for us to have a very nice and restful weekend. Thank you, and I'll see you for next month's inspirational session. Bye all from my end.
Thanks, MJ
Bye.
and Tosin. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.